Hey, welcome to our second developer call on how to get started contributing code. So this is a monthly developer call. So let me go over the agenda so you know what's coming. So first a bit of an introduction, very brief, on what this is. Some news and updates from what happened last month. Then we have a maintainer announcement. And finally, the exciting part is we have a demo from Luke that will show you how to get started running this locally, the emulator, Yarn, whatever, all these things to get started contributing. So introduction. So this is a monthly developer call. It's going in Discord, and it will take about an hour, and it will be recorded for later. You can suggest a theme. So this theme is like helping onboard contributors to get their systems running locally. But we offer suggestions, and also if you have any questions, post them in the chat here, so we can answer them at the end. Some news and updates. So this month we had many bug fixes. So many PRs are merged, a kind of small one, but very relevant to, especially on mobile, to have a lot of improvements. Migrated the select component. So we've been trying to migrate more of our components into Storybook, and this month we also added this select drop-down component. So this is an ongoing process, feel free to help out. We started to integrate the mention feature. So this is basically that other members can mention each other, so you can go to their profile. The next step is to include notifications. This is not deployed yet, but in progress. Update the research landing page. So the overview on the research module now has a bit more additional information, like the amount of useful comments, updates, and also the flag. So this interface gives a bit more information. We have a 404 error page. I mean, not super exciting, but yeah, we have a page for that now. It's deployed to Fixing Fashion. This is actually quite a big one. So now we have 3 instances running. We have Fresh Plastic, Project Camp, and Fixing Fashion. This one has the Academy and also the map. So you can add a profile if you want to get started, or if you have a space with Fixing Fashion. So this map will be going online soon and hopefully fill up. Work in progress with email notifications. So at the moment you have notifications installed, but you can only see them if you go to the platform. So Adrian is working on integrating email notifications, which would be quite a big change for the interaction on the platform, but this is still ongoing. And also a special thanks to Keyboard, Alicia, Adrian, and Ashiri Zivi. They've been quite active contributors this month with some nice PRs coming in. And then our maintainer announcement. So if you go to the website platform.onearmy.earth, you go to help build it. You have this bar here that says we're looking for maintainers. It's been there for a while. And we're basically looking for some long-term people that can help out review and merge the PRs and understand the code base. So at the moment we have a lot of contributors, which is really great, people helping, but we really need a few long-term people that really understand inside out which PR is good to merge and making sure it follows our guidelines. And the announcement is that this guy, you might have seen him on the GitHub with a little watermelon. This is the avatar from Luke, maintainer together with Chris. But Luke has a new job, so unfortunately he has to reduce his time maintaining, so he wouldn't be really involved that much anymore, which is unfortunate and makes it even more important for us to get new maintainers. So if you know someone, or you want to do it yourself, let us know, because it would be very valuable. So this is the last time you can see him in action, well, for now at least. He's going to run locally. So this is the last time you're going to see him in action. He's going to live a demo. So yeah, now you're going to see him in action for the last time. He's going to run a little demo on how to locally set up. The internet connection is a bit unstable. Sorry for that. I hope it's still clear. If not, you can always ping us a message in Discord so we can help you out. So yeah, let's go, Luke.
To introduce myself, I've been working on the community platform for about a year now. So some things I know, and I might forget that I know them. So please, if anything is unclear, just ask a question. That's the easiest way. We will make sure that everyone leaves this session knowing a bit more than when they started. So to repeat, Dave, what we're looking to do at the end of the session is raise the PR against community platform and kind of walk through all the steps to do that. So setting up your local environment, picking up an issue, looking at local Docker emulators. Yeah, so we've got a bunch of things that could go wrong because it's a live demo. We've already demonstrated that some internet connections are unstable, so mine should be good. I've made a sacrifice to the demo gods for the next 60 minutes. So let's see how we go. The expected duration of this is 30 minutes with some time at the end for questions. But again, feel free to derail me with questions. I prefer it much more if I'm making it up as I go along. Okay, cool. So with no interruptions so far, let me attempt to share my screen. Let me share. I want to share the entire screen. I'd like to share a screen, yes. This one, please. Go live. Okay, hopefully if you join the live stream in Discord, you should be able to see an amazing blank page, because what better place to start than a blank page? So I just wanted, before we jumped into any code, I just wanted to give a bird's eye view because it will help understand why working with the platform locally can be a bit weird, a bit different to other projects. So I'm just trying out this tool. I'll drop a link in the chat. So in theory, you can come along here and draw with me, but I don't know. I've never used it before, so let's see. So what we have at the top, I cannot draw rectangles, but that's okay. Community platform. Okay, and what we have at the very top of our site is a single page application, okay? And this is built using React, and we use MobX for some of our state management, and we use Theme UI as a base for our kind of UI components. So that's the front, right? That's everything we kind of look at. But actually, like underneath what we have here is like a dependency on this massive kind of monolithic product from Google called Firebase. And if you've not worked with Firebase before, I would say get familiar with it because it's really the backbone and the infrastructure of everything that we build on the community platform. So Firebase is a suite. It's also a product. It was a company, and then Google ate it / acquired it. And what it provides us with is a database. It also introduces the idea of user authentication. And what else does it do? It has file storage. When you upload images to the platform, they all get uploaded to Firebase. And then the other thing that does is hosting. So we deploy our static application to their hosting package. And then the other thing we get from them is functions as a service. If you're not familiar with this is the notion that we can introduce like tiny snippets of code that run on the server, and Google Firebase kind of manages this for us, so we don't need to. Most of our application lives in the client side, but there is a degree of it. We have some background tasks that are triggered as a result of changes to data. We use the functions as a service. I can't remember what they're called, probably like something awesome like Fire functions or Firebase functions, something like that. So as you can see, everything inside this rectangle, which is quite a bit of stuff, all runs on Google infrastructure. And that's where running the community platform locally can get a bit complicated. So we'll take a quick dive into it, and we'll get up and running with Docker as well, so that we can have some of this infrastructure running locally, which is very important, because otherwise we're all reading, like every developer that clones the project is reading off the same Firebase staging instance. Very quick to get started with, but it's very limiting if you want to like play with the data. Okay, any questions after the bird's eye view? Apart from, compliments about how good I draw rectangles. I rectangle as good as I speak. Excellent. Okay, so we'll jump into the local setup. All of this is documented. If I say anything that isn't documented, we'll be sure to get this updated. So your kind of core dependencies are Git, Node, and Yarn. So let's just jump into the code and get this up and running. If you have any questions about my tooling or anything like that as I go along, yes, specify a repo. So this is the GitHub command line interface. I recommend it because it's quick. So we'll just wait for this to download. In this instance, what I'm doing is I'm cloning the actual repo. You might want to fork unless you have write access. Cool. Community platform demo. If you are watching closely, you'll notice I've gone into a different repo, a different folder, and that's because I wanted to install the dependencies before we got started. Because that can take a little while on the first attempt. It's 100 megabytes or so, so I don't recommend doing it unless you're on Wi-Fi. Yes.
Hello, Google. Go ahead. Hello.
I don't think Zero X is talking to us. No, I don't think that's aimed at us. Let me see if I can mute. Okay. Anyway, so in the CLI, in the terminal, I ran yarn start, and this will run a few things. So we're kind of using a mono repo structure, and we're using yarn workspaces to power that. So we have two kind of important kind of packages that are running. We have the core platform, and we have this other components, which is where our UI elements live. So when you run yarn start, it actually starts two different processes, and eventually we'll get localhost 3000, sorry. And what we can see here is everything up and running with stuff appearing, and you're like, well, this is weird because I don't recognize any of this content. And that's because by default, when you clone this project, you will automatically connect to a throwaway Firebase environment we have set up, just so you don't need to worry about getting up and running, which again, very useful, but it does mean you can't change any of the data. I mean, we can sign up for an account. I've got an account on this profile. Everyone can sign up. I've given myself admin privileges, which means that I get to go around and see, that this item is awaiting moderation. But you can't do that if you're working, like if you're a new contributor, right? This is something that needs to be set up manually, which when we say manually, we mean it's probably a bit slow. So how can we work around this? If we back out to the terminal, we can run another command called yarn start emulated docker. It's catchy, but it does tell you exactly what's going on, which is that we're starting a Docker container that contains some of the Firebase services within an emulator. We opted for Docker because it has some really rubbish dependencies, like a Java SDK and all this stuff you might not have. So we've wrapped it up in Docker. It does introduce Docker as a dependency, but it makes it a bit easier to work with. And we can see, as it comes online, it automatically opens up browser tab. You can spot the difference here and see, oh, we're on port 4000. And so that means that we're running a Docker against the emulator. You can see we also have this little hint in the UI. that just tells you, we're running against your local environment. So if you're trying to use any production credentials or any like credentials you might use in your 3000 environment, they're not going to work in your 4000 environment because we're up against the local database. So hopefully, if it's up and running, this is all documented as well. So this is an opportunity to say, I don't understand, Luke, but otherwise it's all covered in our Firestore emulators. So Firestore is the real-time database from Firebase. Fire in front of everything, and that's how you name a product. So the cool thing about the emulator is, so first of all, you can go into authentication. Remember I said that Firebase gives you like a few of these different constructs. We can create users in here. This is not quite what Firebase console looks like, but it gives us all the kind of power we need. So we can run functions here. And as I said, the most interesting thing is that we can go into the data store behind the scenes and modify any of these records so that we can, play with the data, because otherwise you're just kind of guessing, right? You just, I don't know, raise a PR, push it to production and hope. That's really slow feedback loop. So the aim here is that you can create that state locally. And this is somewhat of a glued together contribution, so a glued together workflow. So if there are any Docker experts hiding behind those avatars, we would love you to look at the code and say, oof, I think I could do it a little bit better than that, and make it run a little bit faster. But it works, and that's kind of a key criteria when we're thinking about these things. Okay, so any questions about what we've just gone through? We've cloned the repo, and we've set up we used the quick and easy method, which is just running start, and now we have a version running on port 3000 against a remote Firebase set of resources. And we've also gone into hard mode using the 4000 Docker emulator mode, where we're now running against local state. And let me demonstrate that just so you can say, I do believe him. If we go and take a look in the emulator and we go to research, we have these really, really useful IDs that come up. What do we have? Okay, let's just see. There's the title. Cool. So I'm not making it up. This is the data coming out of the local emulator store. Cool. Any questions? I'm going quite quickly because I was anticipating a few more questions. This is good or bad. Okay, so we'll jump on to making a change. So how can we do that? First of all, let's find ourselves an issue. Hide my bookmarks because that's boring. And I think I'm going to pick this one that this glorious human called Luke created only 3 hours ago. So in here we've got a kind of problem case that we have all these zeros kind of appearing on our new research page. This is one of the recent features Dave was talking about, where we now kind of surface this information about research. So how many people voted it useful, how many comments there are, and then how many updates. So the thing is, we've got a few zeros here, and I wonder if there's a slightly more pleasing representation we could have. Maybe we just use little hyphens or something like that. So the zeros are just tucked away a little bit. Cool. Sound like a fun challenge? I'll take that silence as a, oh my God, that does sound fun. Dave Atkins is typing. That's a good sign or a bad sign. Shooting yes. Woohoo! We'll go back to Jan start. I don't think I need any emulator data for this, so I'm going to go back to 3000. Give it a moment. This is the whole site is kind of scaffolded off of Create React app, which is a fairly large open source project. So that scaffolding hides a lot of our like developer configuration. So when you see that me typing yarn start and it taking seconds to boot up, I would love to take the blame for that, but we have to put that blame to Create React app and the kind of complexity of what we're spinning up. People who love to optimize that stuff, let's open a PR. Sounds great. Okay, cool. So go to research. Dev site. We have a few zeros floating about. So let's get rid of this because they make me feel sad. Cool. So I'm using VS Code. If you play for another IDE team, please join, which is the best editor. Join the chat and celebrate how great we are. Okay, so let me go and find research list. We try and have a sensible naming convention. So research list. I can see 1 0 here for the voted useful count. Let's change that to a hyphen. So it's either going to be a number or it's going to be 0. Let's do that. This looks like some loading state or something we've got. So we're saying until the aggregations, if it's not there, if it's not present, we'll show this dot dot. I think a hyphen is fine. Lovely stuff. So you see there was a little flash there as it loaded. Would have been hyphens. No, it's sorry, it would have been dot dot dot, but instead it's a hyphen. I think that's fine. Cool. So we've done one. Let's go and take a look at the comments and updates. So those go into research list item. Let's go and take a look at that one. If any of you are familiar with React, we're kind of striving for functional components, or sorry, function component according to this definition. So the idea here is that the components don't do any state management, and we try and bubble that state management up, either to a higher order component, data stores themselves, which are a mixture of MobX. We do have another technology in there. Stay focused. I swear there was another one. Oh yeah, we use Fuse in a few places. I haven't seen it, but I'm just saying it's in there somewhere. Lightweight fuzzy search? No, that's not Fuse. Wait. We've got more than one state management solution, I'm sure. Okay. Got distracted. So the other one we're looking at is calculate total comments. Let's go and take a look at that. Return 0. Well, we know that's a hyphen. This is a reduce. See if we get away with that. Lovely. Okay, so we can see that that's now working for the comments. We'll jump across to updates, which is this one. So it's either going to be the updates length. This. Cool. All right, nice. We've got the functionality we want. Works for me. So I think it would be good to, we're either going to return a number or we're going to return hyphen. So we've also adopted TypeScript. So as I tend to work around the system, I like to see if there's any improvements we can make to the typing. I'm not a hardcore type everything. I'm a bit more pragmatic, and mainly that's because we're working in the evenings for free. So there's a limit to how kind of tedious and pedantic we need to get on types. I'm kind of happy with that for the moment, but maybe it would be interesting because this is going to be a number or a string, and like really, because this method is called get update text, maybe we should only return strings. But then if we did something like so I think we can do string. Now we're only going to return a string, right? So that's going to just simplify yeah, I wonder if we can do the same thing with this. So reduce, it's a bit more complicated to take a look at. Comment on updates. I'm sorry if the typing is very loud. I did try and get my external mic to work, but that was before I made my sacrifice to demo gods, so my external mic is not working today. Comment on updates. Updates. If it's truthy, so that's a value greater than 0, then let's do to string. Comment on updates. Or let's do that. Now you can see that simplified the kind of return type that TypeScript's inferring on. The this function can always expect a string. Cool. And we can see that works. So we've made some minor improvements to the like predictability of these functions and their return types. Hyphen. Anyone want to like flame me for the way that I code? I can take it. I'll just go and cry later somewhere. Silence is golden. This must be the best code you've seen today. Cool. Yarn format, which is a helper script we have just to tidy all the code up. Again, we don't want to I don't want to review people's PRs and say like, oh, that comma's in the wrong place. That's all automated. Cool. Excellent. So I'm going to create a new branch, which I do with git check. I'm going to use my shortcuts so you don't have to hear me typing so much. Git checkout, new branch, and we'll call that dash. The compulsion I have to give my branches like strange names. And then the commit message, which I'll push this and we can see. Fix, replace 0, dash, research. Thing. Oh, GPG key. Whoop. Scrap that. You don't need to use signed commits or anything. It's something that I do, but no one else needs to do that to contribute to this project. Yes, everyone should sign commits, but don't worry about it. Cool. That's why it's nice to use the GitHub CLI. Do GitHub PR create. It says, do you want this to be the title of your PR? Hell yeah, that was a great title. I'm not going to submit it as draft because I think it's pretty good. Excellent. Commit message are descriptive because they're used in our release notes. Let me show you why. So here we can see a release that went out yesterday. So because I added fix at the beginning of my commit message here, it will be automatically added by magic robots into this bug fix section. And we use something called semantic release. Semantic release, CLI. Open source project we use to kind of take some of the automation here and generating our release notes. The caveat or the limitation is it relies on the humans to write meaningful commit messages. Yes, I think it's a good commit message. It's a bug fix. I'm referencing this one. We're getting so close to the current year. Isn't that exciting? Get issues. 1972. If you can guess my birth year, try in the chat. What happens next? Cool. And so because we've added this closes, when this gets merged, it will mark the related issue as closable. Awesome. So now it's going to run through our CI pipeline. We have a few different jobs going. So on the one hand, we have this like CodeQL plugin, which is from GitHub, where they scan our code for security vulnerabilities. We also use Circle CI to do kind of the real heavy lifting of our CI pipeline. Sorry, when I say CI pipeline, I mean continuous integration. And so the aim here is that if we get green checks across the board, the artifact at the end here is suitable to be deployed to production because no tests have failed. Cool. Any questions? This takes about 20 minutes end to end. I spent time trying to make it faster, but it's okay where it is at the moment. You see we have a few like parallel jobs running and everything. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Yes.
I think it's probably a simple one, but when you add the fix in the beginning of your title, is that like an automatic thing for anyone who contributes something, that if there is a fix in the beginning that it like goes onto the bug fix list, or how does it work?
Yeah, exactly. So we use this convention. It's in our contributor guide. But basically, here you can see the options. I tend to only do docs fix. And yeah, so if you use, we can go and take a look at our releases. But depending on the one you use, go to a different section on the releases, and it also generates a number. So here, for example, if you used feat, FEAT, it would add this features heading and add this commit message.
Nice.
And this also it also increments the number. So you see, this is 126 because we had a new feature. Whereas if we look between 125 and 1251, the only difference is bug fixes. So that's why this came out as a point release. This is,
and that's also done automatically.
Yeah, exactly. Like we don't engage with those version numbers. We let machines do it. This is less impactful for us as a community platform, because ideally you're always running the latest version, and you don't need to think too much about our 3 versions on community platforms. So it's good compatibility. Like, what impact will that have on my consumers? It's as I said, it's not an immediate concern when we're making changes to the platform at the moment. It's just about being a good citizen.
Cool. And where does, if someone doesn't take any of those pre-installed like words, does it end up in that summary as well? Or is it
Very good question.
somewhere else to find out?
Yeah, so in that instance, it would actually fail here. So we have a check at the very beginning, so that we require commits to be well structured. Yeah, so that they will appear. I would say that there's always a caveats. If we look at the commits, almost to 5,000. That would be exciting when that happens. We have a commit like this, where we have like a chore, and so that won't feature in release notes. The aim, like the meaning here of chore, is that there's no impact on anyone external, right? So in this case, I'm moving a file from one directory to another, so it's not worth including in the release notes, right? It would just be uninteresting noise to anyone. But again, hopefully none of you are contributing chores. You're doing like fun stuff. That's just the privilege of having strong opinions about where files are located. Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Cool. Yeah, no problem. And then, Dave, a question about using the emulator or not. Typically, I tend to work only with localhost 3000, so running against our like throwaway Firebase environment, and that's because I haven't been working recently on anything that required any particular state in the application. I mean, it also helps that I have admin access to this throwaway environment. So if I need a new how-to or whatever, I just tend to add it here. But that's because I run a tiny MacBook Air, which is not good with having Docker on it. Cool. So any other questions? Awesome. So I'll just say what will happen here is once the tests go green on this, which, as I said, shouldn't take too much longer, one of the human maintainers will then take a look at the code, mark it as approved or not, maybe a few ways that this could be improved, and then and that's more or less it, end to end.